Another lesson I think is very important on communication is the value of telling stories to communicate. People connect more with stories than facts, particularly a story that they can understand, appreciate, connect with. They've had something similar. You may be making a point totally unrelated, but they understand the story. One of my first experiences with this, and I don't remember why it was that I chose to use this story. It was my first year in the legislature, and one of the issues at that time dealt with the predecessor of K-State Salina. It was originally a technical school that was put there after some of the losses to the Salina, Kansas economy as a result of phasing down from World War II. Air base was closed, so the legislators from the Salina area were looking for ways to fill in that gap, all that employment leaving, and so they sold the legislature and the governor on putting a technical school out at the old Schilling Air Force Base in Salina. Well, it had its difficulties over the years, and one of the challenges I faced my first year was the Appropriations Committee in the House decided to close the school down. Enrollment wasn't good enough, and it had been an issue for a number of years, not reaching a level that I think most people could agree would, be a business set of numbers that made sense. I had the responsibility, even though I was new to the legislature, to defend that institution from a legislature. Powerful committee had voted to close it down. My story that I told that day that turned out to be effective was I drew the parallel with the two football coaches at KU and K-State. And I said, how could, because they had threatened to close this school almost every year. I said, how could these football coaches recruit football players if every year the chancellor and or the president at K-State was sort of, well, maybe football's not that important. Maybe we'd be better off if we drop the football program and put our limited resources into basketball. Do you think they could have recruited good football players to either of the two institutions? Well, that was my story, and it connected. I got the point across that how could they recruit? How could they recruit successfully if every year in the news the legislature was talking about closing it out? Who would want to send their kids to a school that wasn't going to survive for them to even complete their degree? Well, instead of just making the frontal argument of you're not giving them a chance, I told a story that they could relate to and more effectively made the point I needed to make to save the school. And today there is a K-State Salina. There wouldn't have been if the Appropriations Committee had been successful that day.